This is the Mikedjkelly podcast.
Mikedjkelly.
Bosh bosh. So here we are again with yet another Fab Free podcast when everything around you is going crazy. Currys are selling a vacuum cleaner for £529 and it's nearly 40k for a beach hut. And both main political parties are still in complete meltdown. We will, in our normal, scandalous, outrageous, funny way, try and make sense of what's happening in the world. So who's calling the shots? Should the public do its bit? What does it all mean? So comfy slippers and onesie on. Let's go head first, hopping and skipping and shouting into another cram-packed audio adventure of the special Bonkers Who's Calling the Shots edition of what we lovingly call the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast. And this is not any ordinary podcast. This is the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast. According to Andrew on Twitter, Britain needs a pay rise is a slogan crying out to be used.
On this week's podcast.
Coming up on the Shorter Than Short, tub of Lurpak, Lord Sugar, Pigeons, free parking, Ian Botham, Thames water, don't pay, charities, competitions and a whole lot more.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Strange thing happened the other week when I noticed a plant starting to grow out of the toilet waste pipe halfway down the side of the house. Managed to pull the blighter out, roots and all, and decided to plant it to see what was growing out from the toilet waste pipe. Imagine my horror when what looks like a cannabis hemp plant is growing. How could this happen? Who's been in our loo? And what have they been doing?
This is the Shorter Than Short Mikedjkelly podcast.
There's a lot of pigeons standing on the roads at the moment, more than normal, but why? I remember many years ago Ken Livingstone, when Mayor of London, declaring war on pigeons and describing them as rats with wings and that you should not feed them. Maybe the problem goes back to the 60s and Julie Andrews was to blame, when in Mary Poppins promoting bird food at 2p a bag. Feed the birds around St Paul's.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Talking of things that happened a long time ago, is it true Margaret Thatcher is to blame for the housing shortage, selling off all the council houses and not rebuilding more to replace them? Can you tell that the Shorter Than Short is coming from a new audio-enhanced studio?
It's Mr. Mike. It sounds much better. Is this my microphone?
It is indeed, Joyce. What have you been up to?
Looking to find some paid work doing something like continuity announcing, being the voice of sat-nav directions or doing the weather forecast now John No H in John Mitchell has retired from YTV.
That sounds good. Let's talk about it more later. If the price of energy, gas, electricity, petrol, diesel keeps on rising, how are we going to cope? It is fact the more we pay, the more suppliers and all involved in delivering the product make, none more so than the government, who must be rolling in it. If anybody understands the complicated system of help that the government has brought in for gas and electric bill refunds, please get in touch and explain it to me. The Green Party seems to be the only one talking any sense at present and calling to renationalise these companies. It's hard to see that the Tory government is going to turn down money to make life better for us lesser beings. Interesting to see that energy firms will soon be able to turn off your heating without notice with smart meters, according to the Daily Mirror. Scottish Electric Networks would have the right to decide when the grid is in a state of emergency and allow them to switch off high usage items such as heat pumps and electric vehicle chargers. Does not mention if you're in arrears, but one would imagine they might use it then. Just glad I decided the other day not to take up the offer of a smart meter.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Remember the old Hovis advert? I'll never forget that first day at pit. Me and my father worked a 72-hour shift, and then we walked home 43 miles through snow in his bare feet, huddled inside clothes made out of old sacks. Eventually we trudged over till until we could see street lights twinkling in our village. My father smiled down at me through the icicles hanging off his nose. Nearly home now, lad, he said. All right, not the Hovis advert, but Tony Capstick's lyric from his hit single, Capstick Comes Home. Talking of remembering, do you remember when you could trust what the government said, stroke told you? So who is calling the shots?
This is the Shorter Than Short Mikedjkelly podcast.
I don't know what brought this on, but just thinking back to my first job as an electrician in the early 1970s, when electric drills were in their early stages. If I was running a cable on a hard wall, I would have to make the holes for the clips to go in, not using an electric drill, but by using a raw plug 9-inch number 14 or number 8 drill bit, which you'd use with a hammer to make holes in the wall, which you would then plug with wood before banging the clips in. Did you know only 1 in 100 MPs comes from a working class background? Also, some water companies are calling for hosepipe bans to be brought in. But is that right? Companies are no longer owned by us, but by shareholders, and we are but customers. To us, they just provide a service that we pay a high price for. Let's hope that they cancel the direct debits for any time that they are asking us to do them a favour. Just by the by, I seem to remember as a kid that you could create rain. Is it by mixing salt with the clouds at high altitude? Joyce, Google it and see what we get.
Says scientists are zapping clouds with electricity to make rain. Drones will give clouds an electrical charge in an attempt to create rainfall. With a harsh, desert climate and an average rainfall of just 4 inches a year, the United Arab Emirates needs more fresh water.
I like it when they say we have to pay top wages to attract the right sort of talent. I see Thames water boss Sarah Bentley gets £2 million plus 727,000 windfall. She must be exceptionally clever, possibly in the Dido Harding class.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Just by the by, again, Ian Parsons on Twitter, ever since at BBC Look North's Paul Hudson talked about the water crisis and half-full reservoirs, it's hardly stopped raining. Please tell him to shut up, thank you.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
On Sunak and Truss, neither is going to win the 2024 election. Fact. I rather like Truss's dad's Twitter account.
Please note the information provided by the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast is for information purposes only and should not be substituted for any type of professional advice. If you have any concerns, please consult with a qualified person or an adult.
Out there on Twitter, Florence of the North, it's 10 years to the day that I stood in front of this random person's house and had my photo taken, thinking Morrissey lived here, completely unaware I'd got the wrong address, on the wrong side of Manchester. John Mitchell, weatherman, ITV meteorologist, tweeting forecasts for the north, blue skies are okay, but I quite like clouds. The Wombles. Bernard Cribbins breathed life into the borough. His voice was the soundtrack to our lives. We love him and we miss him. Bernard, you will always be a part of our Womble family. Great Uncle Bulgaria. John Spires, I hate it when that happens to roads. Roads and pathways are natural things made by humans due to their activity. They are much more important to our history and past than grand buildings. That is why I feel so passionate about the A303. David Booth, we used to have a progressive taxation system. The more you earned, the more of what you earned you paid in tax. Now we have a system where wages for many are so low that tax is not worth collecting. And the richer you are, the less tax you pay. Yet we all pay the same purchase tax. Derek James, apparently it's now easier for an asylum seeker to get into the UK than it is for a holidaymaker to get out of the UK.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mikedjkelly podcast.
Competition time, name the song or the artiste. In a trance, watch her dance to the beats of the drums. Faster now, sweating brow, I'm all fingers and thumbs. Wonder why I hit the sky when she blows me a kiss. In a while, run a mile. I'm regretting all this. Name the song, or artiste, or both.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Couple of questions. Did Russia pay for Brexit? Did Boris ever have COVID?
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
If you're new to the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast, you can still get to hear all the previous episodes by just searching or shouting the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast. Hey you, are you worried about the cost of living? You don't need to with the Electron exercise bike model 240V 5A. Just hop on and start pedaling for a healthy lifestyle that will generate electricity to power your home as you pedal, producing a whacking 1250 watts, that's 5 amps if you remember your Ohm's law. That's enough to power the microwave, fridge or TV and a few lights. Just think how much you could save by pedaling to power your home. And as a special introductory offer, we'll throw in our special attached to your pet's cage Electron Power exercise wheel for your hamster or guinea pig, allowing them to create power to keep the lights and fridge on overnight. Get in touch now to place your order. Today's do-gooders are Dogs on the Streets at dogsonthestreets.org. Welcome to the official website for Dogs on the Street, a voluntary ran and not-for-profit charity dedicated to the welfare of dogs belonging to the UK's homeless community. Dots came in the waggly-tailed shape of a very special street dog called Poppy, who changed Michelle's life forever. Poppy's homeless dad was taken very ill and, having heard about Michelle's work, made contact to see if she could help with Poppy's welfare while he moved into accommodation to try and better his health. Michelle took on Poppy, welcoming her into her family, including numerous other fur babies, like one of her own. And it was this bond that was formed with Poppy that sparked the desire in Michelle to do even more than she was for the homeless doggy-owning community, to provide a more permanent and regular service. Fast forward to now, and Dots operates weekly in London, as well as running regular services in other major cities, with a view to expanding even further. With a fully equipped mobile veterinary surgery vehicle allowing ease of access to dogs in need, Dots ensures all the essential items and services are provided for free each and every week, from food, provisions to new harnesses and leads, plus training and grooming sessions. To be inspired or to find out more, head off to Dots on the Streets at dogsonthestreets.org.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Oh look, sounds like Cheeky Charlie has been receiving more dodgy cash, this time from Osama bin Laden's family, who gave him $1 million. Anybody know how the royal family got to be the royal family? With so much land and property, did they just accumulate it and steal it from other people, or purchase it in a legit way at auctions and sales? Why do we support this household with all these properties and land? You'd think they could balance the books, especially with all the cash Prince Charles is bringing in. Hang on, what's that feeling? I think I'm turning Republican. And while we are on about things that are not required, Attorney General Suella Braverman, QC, MP, is getting a lot of bad press.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Has Nadeem Sawahi explained the source of his £26 million mystery loan? I don't think so. Another member of the government that you should be able to look up to and trust. Shame we have not got any politicians in any party who are willing to stand up, speak up and defend the nation's rights. And what's this about Lord Sugar, he of The Apprentice fame, and some dodgy 1970s stackable hi-fi systems? What is he doing on the BBC with The Apprentice, teaching people his business skills, and he banks all his money outside the UK? Is this the sort of person we should be looking up to? Randox did well, paying Conservative MP Owen Paterson $100,000. He directly lobbied a senior minister. Randox was awarded contracts worth nearly £500 million during the pandemic, without any other firms being given the opportunity to bid for them.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Guess the celebrity? She was born on the 18th of August 1972 in Hammersmith and is a writer, presenter and professional poker player. She writes weekly columns for The Telegraph and has hosted the BBC TV quiz show Only Connect since 2008. In 2007, after the death of her father, having put a notice in the Times inviting those who knew him to attend the service, she was warned by a friend that a gang of serial funeral crashers based in the south of England were checking death notices to find funerals and memorial services to crash for their own enjoyment. After receiving some suspicious email replies to her notice, she instigated a hoax to trap the group. She created Sir William Ormonroyd, along with an online encyclopedia entry, and placed a death notice a week later. She placed another notice in the Times in the guise of his grieving boyfriend Peter for his memorial service, followed by drinks reception. She reported that the group duly claimed to have known Ormonroyd and applied for tickets. Who is she?
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
So Joyce, tell us how the sat-nav voiceover work is going. Are you out there on any systems yet? Where can we hear you?
Though not yet, most systems work with a simple script. Most popular portable navigational systems work by mixing and matching just 59 sound clips. Some are numerical, 100, 200, 400, others imperative, stay in the right lane, and still others declarative. You have reached your destination or recalculating. Manufacturer and model, but the core group of commands remains the same. Mr. Shorter Than Short, I'm recalculating, please get back to the show.
Let's see what's on offer in those voucher emails this week. 1 day private narrowboat hire, Shropshire Union Canal. Sounds good for up to 10 people, 17-mile route. No tricky locks. Hire starts at 9 a.m. and finishes at 4:30 p.m. for £85. Not really a day's hire, is it? As you only have it for 7.5 hours, they could hire it out 3 times a day. Alpaca walk and afternoon tea for 2 in Charnwood Forest. Hollywood or Brazilian wax, full body upgrade Leicester, accompanied by pictures of semi-clad female. However, I noticed when walking down York Place while walking the dog on his city centre walk route that we passed a Brazilian waxing emporium for men with semi-clad male pictures filling all the windows.
Mr. Mike, I've had a Brazilian.
Too much information. I'm shocked.
Sorry, it slipped out. What's wrong with a Brazilian?
Nothing, I suppose. Did you enjoy it?
I did. I have been several times now to the one in the light. It's called Estábulo Rodizio Bar and Grill, and they honor the Brazilian gaucho's traditional method of cooking.
Gosh, I thought you were talking about something else. What is the Brazilian gaucho's style of cooking?
It's good. It involves taking the most delicious and flavoursome cuts of meat, which are then skewered and cooked slowly on open flames.
Sounds yum.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mikedjkelly podcast.
If you're looking for that special seaside home, a traditional beach hut, nothing fancy, but it's up for sale at Hordle Cliffs, Mitford-on-Sea, for just £39,950. Save money and cook for 3. With global warming and more 40-degree summer days expected, get your one-stop barbecue heatwave pack now. The firm foil base just needs to be placed in the sunshine and bread, bacon and eggs placed on it to cook in minutes in the hot sunshine. Make use of the hot weather and cook your food when the sun shines. Imagine how much money you could save on your energy bills. Fife Council's 3 city centre car park has netted £126,000 after Ringo Parking put up charging detail signs. The Don't Pay campaign is set to start on the 1st of October this year. It's the date when they're wanting people to cancel their direct debit payments to energy companies. They're trying to get over 1 million people involved, so it will have some impact. Search for the Don't Pay campaign if you want more details.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Congrats to Mike Reed and Neil Cronin, who've just become Water Rats. The Grand Order of Water Rats is a British entertainment industry fraternity and charitable organisation based in London. Founded in 1889 by the music hall comedians Joe Elvin and Jack Lotto, the order is known for its high-profile membership and benevolent works, primarily within the performing industries.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
And on fake showbiz news, Paul McCartney says he might have written loads of classic tracks, but the one he's most proud of is actually Auto Glass Repair, Auto Glass Replays. Breaking. Major police investigation underway after Adolf Hitler's testicle is stolen from a display case at London's Royal Albert Hall. Kat Deely reveals she will not attend weddings until she has it in writing from the bride and groom that they haven't picked anything by Snow Patrol as their first dance. Andy Peters issues apology for his unacceptable behaviour in Basildon's Toby Carvery. I was extremely hungry, he explained. Wizard star Roy Wood says, is anyone feeling super Christmassy today? Rihanna says she's been told a number of councils have opted to reschedule bin collections over the next few days due to the heatwave. So definitely worth checking out if that's the case where you live. Private jets, oh private jets. A new survey found that Taylor Swift's plane has taken 170 flights between the 1st of January and the 29th of July 2022, clocking up 15.9 days in the air with an average flight time of 80 minutes and 139.36 miles per flight. The total flight emissions for 2022 were calculated at 8,293.54 tonnes, 1,184.8 times more than the average person's total annual emissions. Taylor says not all flights are made by her, but by people the jet is hired out to. I would like to say, sitting in my garden under a flight path, that there are more and more private jets daily, which cannot be a good thing.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
On TV, expect long queues at churches as teenagers go to get help with problems and turn to God for the answers. Well, I say that after watching Emmerdale, and the teenager of the village is always in the church asking for help and direction. Okay, it's just a soap, but it reflects real life, doesn't it? Let's do a few TV advert bits. Imagine driving without compromise. What are they on about? Ian Botham adverts. Do they work? Just asking. Wimbledon and tennis interviews, and that large bottle of water on screen at every interview. Whatever the money they got for it, I think they have sold their souls. Heinz garlic sauce. Doesn't look very nice, or is it just the meals they put it on before the weather forecast? Currys / Dixons are advertising a Dyson vacuum cleaner at a reduced price of £529.99. Open your eyes, drink some coffee, and come to your senses. You can buy a good vac for less than £100.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
More from Twitter. Donna Scully. Oh God, it's getting so bad. At Breakfast Club, more people with accommodation than homeless, but can't eat and pay energy bills. Very thin elderly man this morning hadn't eaten for 4 days. In UK, in 2022, we gave him cereal, 2 breakfasts and food to take away. He can't make ends meet. Hannah Louise. Really is absolutely mental that we weren't allowed to play football in PE, isn't it? Dr. Julia Grace Patterson. It's not patients' fault the NHS is failing, and guess what? It's not the doctors' or nurses' fault either. Alan the Viking. I worked on the Corbyn leadership campaign in 2015. I'm in my twilight years, but I will take the support and love for him to my grave. He had a great manifesto, which stood to benefit the many, not the few. Jacqueline Hemmings. The thing I love about Mick Lynch, more than the fact that he speaks so much sense, is the fact that he's holding up a mirror to the whole capitalist system and showing everybody just how unfair and unjust it really is. David Osland. Keir Starmer is leader of the Labour Party. Mick Lynch is leader of the opposition. Andrew Disbury. The Domino's in Headingley has rebranded for Lucy Bronze, who worked there when she studied at Leeds Beckett. Go, Lionesses.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Don't forget, Podpickers, if you want to get in touch about anything to do with the Shorter Than Short podcast show, please use the following to contact us. And if you have any stories, gossips, jokes, or anything for the next episode, email hello@mikedjkelly.co.uk, on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. If you have time, it would be appreciated if you could give us a review on any of the usual feedback sites.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
In the late news, another verse from Capstick. Do you know, when I were a lad, you could get a tram down from town, buy 3 new suits and an overcoat, 4 pairs of good boots, and see Frank Randall at Palace Theatre, get blind drunk, have some steak and chips, bunch of bananas, 3 stone of monkey nuts, and still have change out of a farthing. Is the cost of living really measured in how much a large tub of Lurpak costs? M&S, Sainsbury's and Morrison's, all to remove best before dates for fresh foodstuffs. They say it's so we will not waste as much food by throwing it away. It also means they can keep it on shelves longer and not send as much to food banks. Let's see what happens when we open the milk to sniff it before we buy it. Excellent idea. NHS dentist 6-monthly checkup being scrapped and becoming an annual event to reduce queues. Suspect it would not be allowed if we were still in the EU. The time limit for free parking at a motorway service station is 2 hours, but if you have to wait 30 minutes to get a charging point and then charging time, you'll go over 2 hours and you'll get an automatic £100 fine. Don't leave your caravan parked down the drive. Jeff at the garage says people notice when it's not there and rob your house. Couple of podcasts to try, 2 parkies in a pod, and the Flight Free podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Final verse from Twitter. Lee is back. If the world was flat, cats would have pushed everything off it by now. Get a grip. Tory party members care little about whether the UK hits net zero by 2050 because 90% of them will be dead, Tory MP Chris Skidmore said. Hannah Al-Othman. In more, country totally prepared for hot weather news. Blackpool Victoria Hospital has propped its door open to keep the building cool, but now the hospital is full of seagulls. Claire Wong. Guys, I think I've solved it. Hear me out. We make any day the temperature goes above 32 degrees C in the UK an automatic bank holiday, and then watch the big corporations scramble to fix climate change ASAP. Dave A. Finland banned fee-paying schools 45 years ago and saw huge social improvements because of it. Private schools lead us to where we are today in the UK, run by a class that perceives themselves to be better and buys their way through life. Abolish private schools and class with it. If you want to get in touch with this top-rated and sometimes much listened to podcast, please contact email hello@mikedjkelly.co.uk, on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. Indeed, if you want a podcast making for your business or need any help with radio producer, presentation, travel news, voiceover work, please get in touch. Please tell your friends about the podcast. All they need to do to find it is search on Google for the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Okay, it's time to go. Name the song of the artiste. In a trance, watch her dance to the beat of the drums. Faster now, sweating brow, I'm all the fingers and thumbs. Wonder why I hit the sky when she blows me a kiss. In a while, run a mile, I'm regretting all this. Name the song of the artiste or both. It was Manfred Mann. Ha ha, said the clown. Guess the celeb. She was born on the 18th of August 1972 in Hammersmith and is a writer, presenter and professional poker player. She writes weekly columns for The Telegraph and has hosted the BBC TV quiz show Only Connect since 2008. In 2007, after the death of her father, having put a notice in the Times inviting those who he knew to attend a service, she was warned by a friend that a gang of serial funeral crashers based in the south of England were checking death notices to find funerals and memorial services to crash for their own enjoyment. After receiving some suspicious email replies to her own notice, she instigated a hoax to trap the group. She created Sir William Ormonroyd along with an online encyclopedia entry and placed a death notice. A week later she placed another notice in the Times in the guise of his grieving boyfriend Peter for his memorial service, followed by a drinks reception. She reported that the group duly claimed to have known Ormonroyd and applied for tickets. Who is she? Victoria Elizabeth Corran Mitchell. Today's chosen charity do-gooders are Dots Dogs on the Street at dogsonthestreet.org.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Go on, let's sneak this comment from Alan Rogers in before we go. When I see Tory politicians now, especially cabinet ministers, I just see liars. In fact, I see evil. All they represent now is evil. The thieves of everything that has made us what we are. They stole our money, the nation's assets, and worst of all, the integrity of the country.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
And guess what? That's enough for this Who's Calling the Shots edition of the crazy Shorter Than Short podcast show. From me, Mike Kelly.
Me, Joyce, thank you for listening. Please take care out there.
And remember, you can always find the podcast by searching or shouting Mikedjkelly podcast.
This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
Mike Kelly.